Peace and bliss, family. Peace and bliss. Welcome to another episode of Soul's Truth with me, your girl Charmaine, Rose Priestess, Empowerment Coach and Channel for the Divine. And before I even get into this week's episode, I just want to give a massive thank you to all of you who have been supporting me, to all of you who have been sending your questions for this podcast, for all of you who have been signing up to my programs and mentorship spaces and all of it. I just am feeling in such deep gratitude today. So I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for your support. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so on today's show, we're going to be speaking to a lady that goes by the name of Mrs. Hummingbird. Love that. Mrs. Hummingbird, who sent her question in regarding her past relationship. Now, Mrs. Hummingbird has a sun and moon in Libra, and she has a Venus placement in the sign of Virgo. Now, what Mrs. Hummingbird has stated is that she was with her partner for 3 years before they broke up. They broke up due to not being compatible anymore. Their lives were just moving in very, very different directions, despite the fact that they both, Mrs. Hummingbird has been running a successful business for over 10 years. We'll call him Mr. Hummingbird for the purposes of the show. So Mr. Hummingbird has just began his process of starting up a business and stepping into leadership in his own way. However, due to them being in alignment in that way, they were just out of alignment in many other different ways. And despite these factors of them not being compatible anymore, they have tried to remain a friendship. They have tried to stay friends and support each other and be there for one another. I'm sure many will have an opinion just on that itself, because everybody's different. Some people are like, yeah, I want to be friends with my ex, and others are like, hell no, they're an ex for a reason. So, but that aside, the issue that's been coming up here is that Mrs. Hummingbird has stated that because Mr. Hummingbird has, he's in the process of starting up his business and is still kind of learning to a degree, even though we are all learning, right? She has been really leaning in and offering lots of tips and, on how he can progress further in his business, and also just how he can kind of show up better in life. We'll put it in that way. I know what you're thinking, but just let me get into it, all right? Now, Mrs. Hummingbird has stated very clearly, I'm not in love anymore, but I do care. So I offer advice to him where I can. He asked me for support regarding his business and his son, but then he becomes disrespectful about the advice that I'm sharing with him. Please, can you help me on how to move through this matter? Now, give me a minute. So first of all, there are many layers. There are many layers that I could speak to just on this question alone, okay? And I'm sure that you guys could probably do the same. However, those of you who know me or who have worked with me, you know that I go straight into the root, straight in. So what I'm going to invite you to do, Mrs. Hummingbird, is I'm going to invite you to ask yourself a really honest question with no guilt, no shame, no blame. Just get really real with yourself for a moment. And once you've kind of asked yourself this question, before you respond instantly, because in our humanness, it's really easy to respond rather than to hear and then respond, right? So the question that I'd like to invite you to ask yourself is this: who asked you to offer him so much support? Now, you're going to say, well, he did. He asked me to. But just from reading your email and feeling into the situation and into your astrological placements, I'm gonna kind of guarantee that at some points during your used two's conversations, you were reaching out a little bit more and offering advice a little bit more, even when it wasn't asked of you. Am I right or am I right? I will be answering that question on the next podcast, by the way. All right. And the reason I want you to really get real with yourself and really dive into asking yourself that question is because what I'm feeling here is that I do believe you. You know, I'm a feeler. I can feel so much. So when you said I'm not in love anymore, but I do care, I believe that. However, with that placement in your Venus in Virgo and how you like to show up for another when it comes to kind of love and caring for another, you do like to be in service, aka can I fix this person? Through my service, through my advice, just through whatever it is that I can do to help. Which is why I'd like to invite you to ask yourself the question, who really asked you to keep on reaching out, offering support, to the point where you are now feeling angry and resentful because even though you are coming from a centered heart space and a place of merely wanting to help Mr. Hummingbird to better himself, his life, his surroundings, nobody asked you to do that. Yes, he has asked you at certain times, but he hasn't asked you all of the time. Now, it sounds like this relationship has ended in quite a healthy way. All right, it has ended in a healthy way. However, if Mr. Hummingbird is now being disrespectful and kind of throwing back the advice that you are trying to offer to him through love, care, and compassion, you now need to flip that love, care, and compassion, bring it back into yourself and give it to you. Because again, who asked you to? And this question is a question that I'm asked in many different ways from many different people. I'm giving. Why are they not receiving? Why are they not receiving? And the question that I always go back to is, why can you not stop giving? Why can you not stop giving? Now, like I said before, this has many, many layers. Okay, one of these layers could be rooted in a codependency trait that you may have. It could be to do with the fact that you have this strong placement in Venus that's in the sign of Virgo, which really relates to being, in the act of service and doing for another, sometimes to your own detriment. So there could be a combination of things going on here. But what I do know for sure is that you are giving to somebody who does not want to receive. So when that starts to happen, it's time for you and whoever else is out there who is in a similar situation to bring your energy back. I call it leaning back out of confidence. But you see, there's a difference. Okay, men and women, because we all do it. It's not just a woman thing or just a man thing. Okay, when we feel fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not feeling safe, or many other different things that can come up around safety, what we tend to do is we tend to slip into this energy of manipulation. Not meaning to whatsoever. So then we lean back, but it's not leaning back from a space of confidence. You're leaning back in that type of situation from a space of fear. Well, if I don't lean back now and take control, then what's going to happen? Something bad's going to happen. I won't be safe. I'm not in control. But you now looking at the situation that you are in with your ex-partner, aka Mr. Hummingbird, knowing that you two are on separate paths now, you have tried to remain friends. Clearly it isn't working for you because his disrespect towards your help and support is triggering something in you. And that's what I want you to look at. That's what I want to invite you to really take a close look at. Why can't I stop leaning in to him? Why can't I lean back and further into me from a space of empowerment and knowing, do you know what? I've tried to help this guy. I do care about him, but he clearly doesn't want my help and support on this matter. And those reasons as to why he is showing up in that way, that can come from many different spaces. However, that isn't your problem. It isn't your responsibility. You are trying to take on the responsibility of something that doesn't belong to you. So what I'm going to invite you to do, as well as asking yourself the question of why do I keep leaning in? Like, really, why do I keep doing this? Is this a pattern? Do I always do this? Look back at past relationships. Look at your friendships. Look at how you are in business. Because this type of energy will ripple through all areas of your life. And then once you can start to kind of see the pattern that continues to play out, because I do feel that this is a pattern, you can then lean back in confidence and say, whoa, maybe there's some things within myself that I need to address right now. Do I still love this person deep down? Is there something still going on beneath my surface, beneath my waters, that I haven't quite tapped into yet? Have I tapped into it, but I'm just afraid to really accept it? These are the types of questions that you need to be asking yourself before you then lean back out of power and love for yourself and honor for yourself and your boundaries and your self-respect. Now, once you've leaned back, if he reaches out to you again, which from what I'm hearing in this email, he probably will do, it's important that you are able to maintain those boundaries and the reasons for those boundaries, and are able to express those boundaries in a healthy way. For example, Mr. Hummingbird, you've continuously come to me for help and support. I'm trying to help you, but then you are disrespectful to me. And be open to receiving an apology from him if he offers you one. And if he doesn't, honey, remember those boundaries. Leaning back out of confidence, self-love and respect is completely different to leaning back out of fear. So, Mrs. Hummingbird, I hope that has given you a few things to kind of chew on and to kind of mull over the next kind of few days or week or so. And I hope that you are able to get to the root of what's really going on beneath your waters. To everybody who has joined in for today's show, thank you so much. I look forward to joining you all again in a fortnight. I love you all. Take care. Have a beautiful day. I love you. Bye-bye.